So a little bit of a backstory here. A few months back, a company called Heavenly Soundworks decided to contact me and ask me to review their active speakers. And in the beginning, I was going to decline, but after clicking on their website link, I saw their speakers and they were just absolutely gorgeous looking in picture. So I wanted to see what they can possibly offer in terms of sonic quality. And when they arrived, if I didn't like it for the first 5 minutes of putting them into my system, then I was set on sending them back because they are a small starting out company and I didn't want to damage them with my bias towards active speakers. And yes, I am not a huge fan of active speakers to begin with. So I was gonna send it back, and considering that this is a $10,000 active system that we're talking about, active speaker system. But the fact that this review is out should mean something to you, so let's get straight into what the speaker can offer. So the model I have here is the Heavenly Soundworks FIVE17. This is their entry level, yes, entry level $10,000 bookshelf active speakers. They have the $30,000 floor standard and then a $80,000 floor standing speakers. So we're talking about high-end manufacturing here. So from a person who is from a high-end retail background, such as myself, I guess they kind of wanted my feedback towards their speakers and also a review out of it for, I guess, marketing. But the idea here is that, is this even worth $10,000? And that's the real question that we have to tackle here. Now, I'm going to not hold back, and you don't have to read between my lines. I'm going to give you my honest feedback on this speaker. But first thing is first, let's look at what this speaker is actually about. So the woofer is a 5-inch high-power, high-excursion, 4-layer voice coil woofer. And the mid-range is a 3.5-inch lightweight aluminum alloy mid-range with neo-balanced motor structure and 4 layers underhung voice coil. And the tweeter is a 1-inch treated soft dome tweeter. And each of these drivers are powered with the Hypex Encore technology amplification, Class D, but a very decent one. 125 watts for the woofer, 125 for the mid-range, and 100 watt for the tweeter. The passive radiators allows the speakers to go down deeper and create that really impactful bass that's just really tasteful and really punchy in the mid bass and really is able to extend down low without any port noise or chuffing or anything like that to be found. On the back, we have various input choices with analog and digital. For digital, we have AES, SPDIF, and Toslink alike. And for analog, we have XLR and RC inputs, which is very standard. So this speaker is an active speaker, so it does need a power plug to be powered on, obviously, for the internal amplification and DSP. And to actually connect these speakers and get them start playing, it's very simple. You either have a streamer to connect it digitally, or you can have analog inputs if you have a separate preamplifier with a turntable, or you want to use the internal DAC on the streamer. So you can use analog in, so if you want to use a separate digital front end, or you can use digital in to the speakers if you want to just feed it with digital signal into the speakers. And then you have this remote, which allows you to change the volume of the speakers and also the different settings of the speakers. There's 3 settings. The first setting allows you to play at maximum SPL level or the loudest volume. And the second one is for medium listening. And the third one is for low listening, like very low listening. So for someone who likes to listen to music from, I would say, normal to high volume levels, I will just leave it at the first setting and be done with it. But the reason they have these settings is to optimize the speakers for each volume level. So for example, have you ever heard like reviewers say, well, this speaker is not really good for low listening? Well, that's perhaps because it's not really optimized for that level. It needs to get to a certain point, like the Bucard S400, to really start smacking and doing its thing. Well, this speaker is basically optimized for each level. So if you're listening at low volume, you go to the third setting. If you're listening to it at medium volume, then you go to F2. And then if you're listening to it at loud volumes, or in my case, normal to loud volumes, I would say, then you go to the first setting. And this allows the optimization for each listening level, making it a good speaker for each volume level instead of at a certain level point. And I understand and appreciate this because it is true that most speakers do have their optimal volume range. Most speakers perform best from certain volume to a certain volume, and then they don't sound good at both ends, extreme ends. So this is very useful for someone who likes to listen at low volumes, also medium volumes, and rock level volumes. But I did find a very little problem with listening at very loud volumes. Now this speaker, when it clips, it lets you know that it's clipping. And I mean, they really let you know that it's clipping. It has a red blinker that blinks every single time that it's clipping. Now this is not to warn you to turn down your volume. No, this is them telling you that it's clipping, and that's the entire function of that red blinking LED light that is a little bit intrusive, at least for my personal liking. And this is not to say that the speaker is getting damaged or anything like that. They actually have a protection inside where it will cut off if you play it just way too loud. And please don't be mistaken, this speaker can play loud. The only problem is that it keeps blinking. And the reason this happens is because they want to let you know that when it's clipping, you're not listening to the music as it should. And you're losing information when things are actually clipping. And most active speakers don't tell you that, but they wanted the end listener to know when it's clipping so that they know they're not hearing the entire things they should be hearing in the music. Now, while I find this useful for people that are listening at high levels, and sometimes I want to black out, turn my lights out, and just enjoy the music, and then that red light just keeps blinking because I'm just playing too loud and in the moment I want to crank up the volume, then that becomes a little bit of a problem. And if this was at rock level, concert level, it is not a problem, but to me this is pretty normal levels, and the clipping only happens when the bass kicks in. So every time there's a bass hit and it's like boom, boom, the light would go blink, blink. And that was a little bit bothersome, especially when you want to be in the moment and listen to the music. But other than that, I've already talked to them about this, and they may consider changing that option to actually turn it off or whatever they come up with as a solution. And talking about solutions, Heavenly Soundworks built their company based on solutions to a problem. And the problem is that they recognize that to build a high-end system that sounds really, really great for $10,000, $5,000, or whatever, it takes tremendous effort and time and money and trial, as most people will know from this channel, to actually get the sound right in your space and sound magical. Well, Heavenly Soundworks believe that active speakers can do that with especially the current technology of DSP and all this. So they want to do the homework for you, and all you have to do is connect and play very simply instead of playing around with all the matching, synergy, cables, fuses, snake oil, and running through all the hoops like that. So I get their intention, and I am very happy to report that this speaker does perform incredibly well. Now, the bass goes down deep. It goes down really, really deep to almost a full range level. It goes down to 24 hertz and even under in some rooms. The mid-range is very focused. Everything is pinpoint. And as you would expect from a $10,000 system we are talking about, it is extremely, extremely detailed and nuanced without being sharp and edgy. It is just about right in my opinion. The vocals are sweet. I have really no complaints. The tonal balance is excellent on the speaker. As far as I'm concerned, everything sounds the way it should. Violin sounds like violin. Trumpet sounds like trumpet. Drums sounds like drums. Vocals sound natural to me, whatever I play. Now, the high frequency, again, it extends fairly well, and I really have no complaints. Everything is very well balanced. And it should, because if you look at their website and their measurements, these measure extremely well and they're very proud to post their measurements. Now, with that being said, the Soundstage, the scape of the sound is very limited for a $10,000 speaker in my books. For example, if I were to have passive speakers and an amplifier and preamplifier and make a system around the speaker for about $10,000 or so, then I believe that I can achieve a larger soundstage, albeit probably not as accurate and pinpoint and nuanced as this speaker we're talking about here. However, this is hi-fi, this is not a studio. And for studio purposes, this speaker is just accurate, dead on, very neutral, very, very impactful in the bass region. And if their goal was to let the listener hear what they're supposed to hear from the music as intended by the artist, whatever that means, as far as I'm concerned, I think they have seriously achieved that, because the accuracy, the dynamics, everything is very, very accurate. But I also appreciate that it's not so accurate and so detailed like a studio monitor would, that it just doesn't seem to engage you with music, at least for me with most studio monitors. I appreciate that this has some musicality and life to the sound. So looking at this speaker, just like when I reviewed the SA Quadro passive speakers, I really have nothing to pinpoint, and even more true with this speaker than the SA Quadro. This speaker is fantastic for $10,000 in terms of its sonics. And rightfully so, for $10,000, it better sound damn good. In my eyes, you don't buy this speaker just for its sound characteristic. You buy for the speaker itself, meaning the craftsmanship that goes into the speaker. This speaker is handmade in the USA, and I wouldn't even say made in USA. It's handcrafted in the USA. It's a craftsmanship by a father and a son. It's a family-run business, and it is just absolutely gorgeous looking. The veneer we have here is the zebra wood, but it comes in rosewood and ebony as well. And the entire cabinet is, even the bottom, is leather. So the craftsmanship is extremely, extremely great on this speaker, and it's not simply like the finish that you get on a Bacardi 500 or any of other speakers. This is a high-end speaker just from the looks. And that is part of a high-end experience. The looks, the finish, the touch is all in the detail that matters. So for $10,000, handcrafted in the USA, extremely great finish, extremely great sound, I think they have nailed it. They have done the homework for you to get a great sound out of the box, albeit you have to like the sound. And for $10,000, I really hope that they would have a home demo for people interested in purchasing this speaker, because you have to like the sound to purchase this speaker. You have to like that sound. Because although it has DSP and all the technology packed into the speakers, let's face it, it is not the most technology advanced speaker where you can change the crossover point of the speakers like the Bacardi 500 can with the WISA technology available now. So perhaps they may even consider adding that to the chain. I don't know. But that's another strong point that I find with this speaker, and it's not entirely a negative, because it's not making you migrate to an entire different digital front end like the WISA. You can change your digital platform. You can change your streamer and go to a different app. You can change your DAC. You can change your digital end. So for example, I recently reviewed the Denafrips Terminator and the Terminator Plus DAC, and I connected it to this speaker. And that improved the sound of the speakers with very, very good nuance in the music and very, very detailed presentation that was just sparkles everywhere and really opening my eyes to what these speakers were capable of when you improve your digital signals. Now, with this being said, I do feel like that should be an option. So meaning a streamer should be an option, extra DAC should be an option. I believe that it should have some sort of digital platform where you can just hook up the speakers, at least for $10,000, so that you can play the speakers without a streamer. Meaning that they should have something like the WISA, like a hub or something that you can add on or take off the speaker purchase, so that you have an entire system that you're buying at this price point. So it's definitely worth your consideration if you were someone that is living in a condo or a smaller space or a smaller to medium room, I should say. I wouldn't put these in a larger room. You would have to go to their upper $30,000 floor standard for that. These are perfect fit for small to medium sized rooms. And if you don't want amplifier, preamplifier, and all this mess, and you just want a simple system that sounds and can compete in the $10,000 region and above in some cases, then this speaker is an excellent consideration. And it is certainly the best active speaker that I've heard in the $10,000 bracket for sure. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, then consider liking the video and also consider subscribing for future videos. And also consider subscribing to our Patreon to keep us independent and keep these honest videos and reviews coming. Until next time.